Mattys Mental Health Podcast, aiming to spread awareness on mental health by sharing the real-life stories of those who've experienced it firsthand. MacKenzie, coming to you live, or whenever you're watching it.
Here we are. This is me, Matty Burke.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
You were very tall.
Thank you.
Did you know that?
Thanks for having me, man. It's going to be fun.
Yes. So we work together.
We do. 6 days a week.
6 days a week. That's a lot of days of the week, but hey.
It's good, though.
We came in for a seventh. I dropped my cap, sorry. We've known each other for a while. We played football together at Holland College.
Yep.
We played football against each other in high school.
Yep.
And now we work together.
Yeah, we do.
And I got to say, it's a pleasure.
It's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good times.
Had a little trip over to Halifax earlier this week.
Yes, we did.
Put 3 solid days in.
3 solid days of hard working.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. A little casino time, maybe?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. We won't talk about that.
Yeah, I got my ass handed to me at the casino. Are we allowed to swear?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Just
And
light ones.
Nothing's off limits. Free range.
That's good.
Free range conversation.
Yeah, let's be free.
Free range.
Let's just get naked and talk about it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, if you want to. Yeah. No shirts required. No clothes required. That's the sign I'm going to put in here.
Clothes are optional.
No shirts, no problem. So, we've known each other for a while, man. And I don't really know your story. But I really appreciate you coming here.
Thanks.
And doing this. And if you want to jump right into it, feel free.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, grew up in the outskirts of Surrey, PEI, a town called Fortune. Grew up there with a lot of family surrounding me, some close friends, tight-knit group. It was it was a good experience growing up. Had lived out in the country, so lots of fresh air outside all the time. Guess after that, hit school. We're taking this step by step. We're going right from the beginning.
Right from the beginning.
Yeah, so school was good. Same thing, small classes. Finished high school. High school graduating class was like 35, 36 people. So it was pretty small, but it was good. We were all pretty close with each other. Yeah.
So how far away is Fortune from Surrey? Just curious.
15 minutes.
15 minutes?
Yeah.
And it's like a community
yeah.
kind of thing?
Yeah, we got a community hall. We can call it a community.
Really?
Yeah, it's good.
Cool.
Not too many people live there. Probably related to the majority of people that live out there. That being said, the last couple of years, a lot of tourists popped up. It's a pretty beautiful spot, so lots of views of the water and stuff like that. So
That's awesome.
tourists are staking their place.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
It's good.
So, graduating class of 30.
30-something, yeah.
How was that? Okay. A lot of questions here.
Yeah, go for it.
So, you went to Holland College after that.
Yep.
That was your first time being in like bigger classroom settings. There's more people in school, stuff like that.
Yeah,
How much of a culture shock was that?
It was quite different.
Yeah.
It was actually probably a better environment for me to learn in. When I was in high school in the small classes, plus being probably a little on the ADHD spectrum, I always felt like I had to be a loud person and had to be the class clown, quote unquote. But when I got to Holland, specifically my second year of Holland College, my first year I took carpentry, and that was kind of a different situation. But my second year when I actually started taking some classroom classes, and classes were bigger, 80, 90, 100 kids in some of them, I felt it was kind of putting me at ease that other people had kind of assumed that role. And it probably helped me focus more, having those bigger classes and maybe being even a little shy at first, just to be able to speak in class and stuff like that. So it was probably good. Grinded through school for 2 years. I did sport and leisure. Played some football along the way. So like I said, 3 years of football. 1 when I was doing carpentry and 2 with sport and leisure. Football was also pretty big for me growing up. I started playing football in going into grade 8. My father passed away that summer. So in between grade 7 and grade 8, my father passed away from cancer. And shortly afterwards, I was playing soccer with one of my friends. And we just played our last game of the season. And my buddy asked him to come over And he said he couldn't. He's got football practice. I was like, football? I didn't know we were old enough to play football. He's like, yeah, come on, try it out. So I went out and tried it out. And actually, it's funny. The first day I was there, I had no idea what I was doing. Just kind of a lanky kid, zero muscle, 6'1", 6'2". So just a long string bean. And first thing someone said to me when I got in the football field was one of the parents of one of the players already. And he took one look at me and said, "That's a football player." So that was probably my first real experience with football was that day. And just hearing that like compliment right off the start, even though he hadn't even put cleats on yet, was it was probably one of the main things that drove me to the sport. And then competition and working out some of my aggression through high school was huge for me. I always felt like I was calmest during the fall because I was able to just burn off all that anger and energy.
Mm-hmm. Can relate to that for sure.
Yeah.
So, father passed away. You say grade 8?
Yeah. 2010.
2010.
Yeah.
And then you get into football after. Do you want to talk about how, I guess,
Yeah, we can go there.
How was that for you?
It was obviously very difficult.
Yeah.
Probably one of the hardest parts about it was he was sick for a year and a half, 2 years before he actually passed away.
Yeah.
And a lot of that time he had to spend in hospitals off province. So just to go see him was 4 or 5 hours of driving.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty tough. And obviously, once he passed away, things were very different. And I was probably a lot to handle. My mom did a great job, though, raising me by herself. It was me and my 2 sisters. And I was by far the hardest child of them all.
Mm-hmm.
But she kept me on a good path. And yeah, I really appreciate everything that my mom did to get me where I am.
Yeah.
And as for that summer, things were a little weird. Sort of in shock about the whole situation. Didn't really come to terms with, I guess, like being happy again until probably like 3 years ago, where things really started to be like, okay, things are going to be all right.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there was lots of good days and bad days in between 2010 and 3 or 4 years ago, but probably the hardest thing about it all was going through all those changes and stuff whenever you're growing up through high school and not really having like a solid male mentor there in your life. There's only so many things you can go to your mom about, right? So,
yeah.
I had some, like I say, about my community I grew up in, lots of family around. Had some close cousins that were always there for me, and it was really a group approach to raising me that my family took. I think it worked out pretty good.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. That your family came together. That 4 years ago, that's 3 years ago, that's 6 or 7 years.
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine. It must have been so hard, man, to lose father in general, parent in general, and then on top of that being at such a influential time where, like you said, like the male role model is so important.
Yeah, and no brothers. Me, my 2 sisters, and my mom lived together. So that was I was pretty much on my own, doing a lot of the learning and stuff like that. So I definitely made a lot of mistakes in high school, specifically, that sort of haunt me still to this day. But I learned sort of a slower pace because of maybe that lack of male leadership. But I always had support from my family.
So football, you kind of found it right after it happened, and was that a big outlet for you? It sounds like.
Yeah, you know how the football season is, super busy, right? So that was the first year bantam for me. I was maybe 110 pounds playing offensive line, so didn't get a lot of play time to start, but I didn't really care. 3 practices a week in a game was what we were doing. So 4 days a week for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, I could just shut my brain off and just focus on that. And that in itself was a blessing. Even if it was more of a distraction than anything else, it was nice to be distracted. That first year was probably what most of it was about. Second year, I started to actually fall in love with football. But, the first year was a distraction, and it was nice to have some guys around. And, yeah.
Right. So you fell in love with it the second year. Distraction the first. Was it... what were the biggest things you think that kind of helped you along the way? And I guess, like, was there a progression of kind of how you felt, like, start to the second year, the third, to kind of, I guess, I mean, there would be. I mean, it's just life. We all go through progression each year, but...
Yeah. Like I said, first year didn't play much. Second year, started bouncing around, trying different positions, stuff like that. Third year, same thing. Played a bit of varsity ball that year. That would have been grade 10, I guess. So, yeah, I was playing varsity ball then. I played receiver, DB, bit of specials. It was good. Grade 11, 12, started to move more into that quarterback role, which was it was fun. Playing quarterback is it is the most fun position of any sport I've ever played. But one thing I learned whenever I got to home college and I was trying to play quarterback was that there's a difference between being able to throw a football and being a quarterback. So I had a good arm, but the rest of the game needed a lot of work. So I transferred from QB to receiver and had a lot more success there.
Right.
But yeah, as for I guess going back to like my first year, it was really strange going back to school after all that happened, and looking around the class, and for everyone else, nothing had really changed, but for me, my whole world was flipped upside down. So I had definitely, in some cases, been sort of envious of some of my friends in the past for their opportunity to have that full family relationship, but it's 2020. A lot of families are, split households, stuff like that. So I'm not alone.
Yeah. It really is, like, I mean, I lost a different person in relation to me, girlfriend, but I just remember thinking the same, like, how is the world still moving? How is everybody just acting normal when, like, this isn't normal?
Yeah.
Like you said, like, your world is flipped completely upside down, but everybody else just, like, keeps going.
Yeah. It really hits home the first time that you leave that environment. So, like, whenever someone close to you passes away, like in my situation anyways, it was almost entirely family for the next 5, 6, 7 days. It was just family all day, every day. And it really hits home that first time that you leave being so close to your family. Like, say something as simple as going to the mall, and you're still in a fog about everything that's happened, and you're there in the mall and you're feeling shitty about yourself, and you look around, everyone's just still walking around. It's just as if none of it ever happened. So it's a unique situation. And I guess the big thing is for me, like, when I started to feel happier again was find some really good friendships. I had good friends from high school, and definitely still friends with some of those guys now. But just getting out there and meeting new people and stuff like that. And it was really nice. Getting out of Surrey, there was a lot of bad memories in that town, probably because of what had gone on. So leaving Surrey, leaving home for the first year was tough, but it was good. It was good for my mental health. Gave me a chance to see things from a different perspective, and went through a lot of change that first year out of high school. I was living on my own in Charlottetown. I had a 2-bedroom apartment all to myself. So I had a lot of time to think while I was there. And definitely with PEI weather and stuff, you get the occasional snow day back to back, and you be stuck in the apartment for like 48 hours in a row. And just the groceries you got, playing some video games, passing some time like that. But yeah, you definitely you go places in your head that maybe I had been pushing back for a long time. And it wasn't really until I hit college that I kind of started to come to terms with some of the shit that had gone on earlier in my life. I had definitely compartmentalized a lot of it. And yeah, so it kind of was a mess for a couple months when I started to unpack all that. And I'm still unpacking a lot of it, right? I don't think that ever really stops when you're a compartmentalizer. But yeah, the big thing for me is just facing the skeletons in your closet just head on. Just get in there and find them all. They're there. And if you can go find them and just take things on one at a time, figure out solutions for each thing as you go. That's huge for like my mental health. That was probably my biggest thing that helped me kind of relax about some of the things that had happened. Was just dealing with, like, you know, I was really fucked up for a couple of years after my father passed away, riddled with depression, suicidal thoughts, all sorts of stuff like that. And yeah, I went through all that, and then almost immediately after I was through that phase, just forgot about it. And forgot about it for a couple of years, going through grade 10, 11, 12. Definitely still had depression from all that. But yeah, facing those on, decompartmentalizing. I don't think that's a word, but
I think it is.
Yeah, that was what a lot of it was for me. And more recently than that, the last, say, 4 months, I really noticed the importance of having a plan. I had always had a plan leading up to basically spring of 2019. Then my plan was basically from high school to try and play football at the highest level that I possibly could. So whatever level that was going to be, if I would have plateaued at Hall College, I would have been fine with that. If I was going to do something crazy, like go to the CFL, that would have been fine as long as I pushed myself as hard as I could. And I ended up going to the OUA football for a year. Wasn't super successful, but definitely learned a lot. And school wasn't going great. Wasn't in the program that I wanted. So came back to PEI, and then whenever I landed in PEI, that was really the first time I didn't have a plan. And I sort of got what felt like a good job, but was actually just a dead end job, working at a brewery. It was cool to tell people about, and they would kind of light up whenever you tell them, like, yeah, I'm working at a brewery. You know, people are like, oh, beer, cool. But you know, at the end of the day,
I like beer. Cool.
Beer drinks taste good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but probably the big takeaway from that for me was that I was just lying to people so they wouldn't worry about me, because I really hated my job. I spent 6-8 hours a day just taking cans off the end of a production line and putting them in a box and then stacking that box. So it was it's really kind of a crash after you know, feeling so high about myself for, you know, the year before, after being recruited football and stuff like that. It really felt like everything I had worked for the last 4 or 5 years with football per se and school had kind of all had the carpet ripped out from underneath me. So I did that job at the brewery for 5 months, I want to say. I got laid off in September, start of October. And that was kind of where I really hit rock bottom over the last, I'm going to say, 4 years. That was kind of like the lowest of all those points. Wasn't doing school. It was too late to jump into a program. No job. Relationship with my girlfriend wasn't great at that time. Charlottetown was going through a housing crisis, and I wasn't making enough money working at this brewery to afford rent anywhere. But I had to live in Charlottetown, so me and her were living in her parents' basement, which is great. Her parents were awesome to me. They took me in for 8 or 9 months, and they helped me get through all that. But for us, it was kind of draining. But definitely really appreciate everything that I was given over the course of that 8 months or whatever to get me to where I am now. Where am I?
So you just got laid off from the job, lowest point in 4 years.
Yeah. So, I was sort of struggling with facing those skeletons in my closet. Was drinking quite a bit. At this time, I had already taken over head coaching job for the high school football team that I used to play for.
Right.
And they were really great for kind of still giving me something to focus on during like that tough time where I was getting laid off. But then that football season came to an end in late October, and then it was 3 or 4 really, really bad weeks. Had like this is kind of a weird situation, but I had like a family dinner back in Surrey, and like I said, I didn't really have a plan, didn't really have a job, wasn't doing school, football was done. I had nothing to hang my hat on. And one of my family members was picking on me about not having a job and living in a basement at both my mom's house and my girlfriend's house, kind of back and forth. And yeah, that really sent me for a spiral. Made a few bad decisions that night. I don't want to get too into that, but had to take a long look in the mirror following that, and that's what I mean by like find the skeletons in your closet. And just so after that day, I had to start going through the closet and looking at what I was doing with my life, and at that point it was nothing, and that was really overwhelming. Had my first anxiety attack that day. Didn't handle it well. I don't think anyone ever handles the first one well, but my girlfriend was there. She helped me get through it. I guess my next big point for what helped me along the way was making a plan, and this is when it really started for me. It's like, I don't want to be a nobody. You know, I know a lot of people in get caught up in that small town life and even big city lives. You know, it's very easy to watch 5 or 6 years pass you by if you don't have plans. So my big thing was coming out of the wake of that was make some plans for myself. So I knew it was time to really buckle down and not just get a job, but get jobs that made me happy, so I could grind through the bad days knowing that what I was doing wasn't a waste of my time. So the first thing I dug out was my resume. My resume was shit. So I took a look at that and said, no wonder I'm not getting a fucking job. You know, who would hire me, right? I've got 2 years of college behind me, and then some other things that I kind of picked up but nothing really completed. So I applied for a job at a casino, sort of as a way to get some quick cash, but always loved playing cards and stuff like that. So I found that job made me happy, and then shortly after I was hired by, can I say the name?
Oh yeah, I'd say so. I think I have
sure trademarks or anything like that. Yeah, so I got hired by Good Life as a personal trainer afterwards, and was definitely a little nervous going through that whole process, but definitely really happy that I was able to get that job secured. I really love it, and it was what I went to school for, doing sport and leisure and stuff like that. You spend over a year focusing exclusively on how to train clients, and I found a lot of happiness in training people, helping people achieve their goals, that sort of thing. It all sounds very cliche, but whenever people achieve things, it does make me feel better. Probably the same reason that I do the coaching and stuff like that. I like helping people be the best they can be. And
Coach, sorry to cut you off, but Coach Joe Puya, I had him on here, and the main theme of what he talked about, like one of the main takeaways that he said, and I like just always remember it as the gift is to the giver. And you get way more out of giving than you will ever will of receiving, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And to share your gifts.
Yeah, Pooey is a smart guy.
What's that?
Pooey is pretty smart.
Yeah, very smart.
Yeah, so that's definitely one of the things for me is that giving back now is sort of important for two reasons. One, my mental health benefits from it, and two, it helps build your resume, right? If you can put some volunteer work on your resume, it just looks so much better.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing right now, working on building the resume. Get a couple of years in at Good Life, looks pretty good, get some experience in. I'm still pretty young, I'm only 22 right now. So get a couple of years of hands-on experience and keep building my coaching. Hopefully do something with that someday. But yeah, that was sort of the plan that I came out of October with. Was it's like what are the things that I really like to do? I really like training. Okay, that's one thing, that's awesome. I also I really like coaching. Okay, don't give that up either. Then what's something that I do that makes me happy? As stupid as it sounds, it's stuff like hanging out with my family, which is something that I probably hadn't done enough of in previous years whenever I left school or whenever I left Surrey. And that includes like my girlfriend and another, also really like playing video games. It's one of those simple things, probably more of a distraction than anything else, but I do get a lot of enjoyment out of that. So can I plug for a second?
Sure.
I'm gonna start a Twitch account up here, start in March.
Yeah.
It's gonna be called T-Mac Gaming.
T-Mac Gaming.
So it's gonna be a GG production. GG not standing for good game, but gap tooth gaming. So I got a little gap in my teeth there.
I like that. I like that.
So kind of taking a shot at myself in the name, but
comedic.
Exactly.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, starting up in March, working on the setup right now. So there's another way of kind of building maybe some enjoyment out of or bring some new enjoyment to something that I've always done. So
yeah, let me know when you get it started. We'll give you a plug. I'll share it.
Sweet.
Share your profile.
Sweet.
It's awesome, man. Good for you.
Yeah. So definitely still in the middle of my plan. I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I definitely, if I can not be humble for 30 seconds, just really proud of myself for the way I've handled the last 3 months, 120 days, and really happy with how far I've come. It was pretty dark there for a while, but definitely really happy with where I am and the way things are going. So I don't know if that's something maybe other people can relate to, is if you're having trouble, try and make yourself a plan. It's always easier said than done, but a plan and looking yourself hard in the mirror and just accepting your flaws, but also trying to find a solution for them as well.
That's really good advice, man. When you talked earlier about decompartmentalizing, I know you spent a lot of time kind of by yourself when you had the apartment. Would you say there were strategies you would use to kind of do that? Was there a certain time that would happen, or is it just kind of like when you had time alone, or?
Yeah, for me, it happened kind of at its own pace. Definitely could have tried to push it along maybe a little faster, but I was kind of scared to go there because I knew I had so much shit up there. I knew that I was compartmentalizing the whole time that I was doing it.
Yeah.
So I knew there was a lot of baggage up there that needed to be unpacked, up there being the noggin.
Yeah.
But I guess it happened for me whenever I would have spells by myself. Could be something as simple as commuting. You know, I was coaching football in Surrey and lived in Charlottetown, so there was 2 hours of driving, you know, there and back. So just lots of time to kind of dig into that. And I guess I don't suggest this as a strategy for everyone else, but when you're unemployed, you don't have a whole lot going on.
No,
So you got time.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me that was one of those things. It takes time. You can't really force it along, or at least in my situation, I couldn't. Just if you are someone like me, compartmentalizes, be ready to kind of hurt yourself, because it's not easy unpacking that stuff, and it's usually worse unpacking it years later than if you had just dealt with it properly at the time. But I'm a compartmentalizer, so that's probably just what I'm going to continue to do, is just keep throwing stuff in the shelves upstairs. But yeah, I guess it's never easy going into your head like that and finding what's really set you off and kind of made you who you are. But it's important to go there, because you can't just keep building stuff up in your head like that. It weighs too heavy.
That's awesome, man. That's some really good advice. And that's awesome, like, making a plan, and how you're proud of yourself now, how the way things are going. You should be. That's great, man. Happy for you.
Thank you.
And I just want to say thank you again for coming on and sharing your story. I know it's not easy to go there, like we said, again, and tell the whole story, start to finish. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's covered a lot. There's always more, but yeah, I think this format that you have for having this conversation is really beneficial. It gives people the freedom to join the conversation however is most comfortable for them, and if they don't want to join the conversation but maybe they want to know that they're not alone, you can always just listen to the podcast, and if there's something you liked, just rewind it. And yeah, it's I like what you're doing here, Matty. Some quality to it, and it's an important topic that had really been kind of hidden from other people for quite a while. People didn't like to talk about mental health issues, but that's changing, and it's good that I assume it helps you whenever you have these conversations as well.
100%.
Yeah. It's mutually beneficial to do stuff like this, and there's also countless other people that listen and helps them as well. So,
all right, man.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Thomas.
Thanks for being here, Matty.